Hi, my name is Mario Bolte and I want to use this video to visualize my information rate hypothesis. It is a new explanation approach for the modality effect, which basically means that we have or we can find better learning results for audiovisual learning material instead of visual only material. I could raise this hypothesis because I did a big longitudinal study. It was a learner-paced context in a regular school lessons, and it was a longitudinal study with 750 minutes of learning over 3.5 months. And this was done in a quasi-experimental setting because Havisto et al. Called for more uh, ecological validity of this setting. We have found a lot of results, but the meta study of Rheinbein found that from 51 studies, almost all were done in laboratory settings. So we need more studies to complete the whole picture. But first of all, I want to talk about the state of the art. State of the art is that there are many explanation approaches for the modality effect and what basically causes the results. The first thing that is raised is the size of the learning material, and Leahy and Zweller found better learning results if the content was segmented in different smaller parts, and others found different results depending on the pacing conditions. So the key question is who controls the pacing of the learning, the learner itself, or maybe the system or the instructor. Others found different results for attention direction. The video has an implemented attention direction via what is spoken about or via the cursor, and the visual only material normally doesn't have it in that way. Of course, we can use the signaling principle, but maybe the video can do the attention direction a little bit better. Others found pre-knowledge as an explanation approach for the modality effect, or others are arguing that effects outside of the theory could be the reason, maybe motivation or self-regulation as concepts that normally aren't integrated in the cognitive load theory. So state of the art is that there are different results, but we don't have a sharpened view on what is happening, and we cannot exactly predict what will happen. And so my information rate hypothesis should add a new perspective here, and maybe it can help, and maybe it can be proved, or maybe it can be rejected, but maybe we can learn something if it will be rejected. So what were the results of my study? The main results is that there are significant learning times that the learners used. They were totally different. The video learners were faster and often with significant faster results. And I found significant better results in the transfer test for the video learners. And I wanted to apply a repeated measures ANOVA analysis, and so I checked for a variance homogeneity, and I did the Levene test, and I found highly significant differences between the group. So the variances were totally different. the video condition led to more or less homogeneity in the time that is used. The slide condition has much higher variances. So there were some slide learners that were really fast, but most of them were much slower, and there were some of them who were totally lost and could not direct themselves in a proper way. And yeah, basically they did just not know what is a good timer to skip to the next page, and some stayed much too long on the slides. And my interpretation is now presented here in the visualization that I've programmed. And we see on the left side the video learner, and on the right side the slide learner. We have the environment here in the middle, and the gray screen is the video screen, and the blue screen is the slide screen. On the video screen, the learning inputs will appear much faster, and this was done by me because I found these results in my study. The video learners were significantly faster, and the slide learners were on average much slower. And we have the human cognitive architecture for both learners. And we have two different mechanisms that explain working memory forgetting. We have the time-based hypothesis, which basically means that learning items will be forgotten depending on the time. When we don't use them, they will be forgotten after about 18 seconds or maybe less. And we have the interference-based forgetting hypothesis, which basically means that if there's an interference because the working memory is full, one of the elements must be rejected in order to free the space for the new item that is to be stored. So let's start the animation for a while. One of the first inputs was created to explain the integrated development environment and that the learners had to program. And now we can see that on the video screen, every 3 seconds a new item appears, and on the slides screen, every 5 seconds a new learning item appears. So I've paused the visualization. The first thing that was explained is that a robot needs a sequence. A sequence is an order of commands, and the program will execute the order of commands exactly in that direction without any interpretation. It's just the machine. The second is there's a start button which defines the start of the program. And the third input is the project, and a project have to be created, and subprograms have to be created as well. And then there's a button in the IDE which leads to transmitting the program to the robot and immediately executing the robot. So these inputs are relevant in order for navigating or applying the integrated development environment. And if the video learner looks the video in the speed that is given because the video was created, and the information weight hypothesis basically mean that the information weight really matters for the modality effect. The video has a fixed information rate, so the rate in which the informations will be perceived by the learner is fixed. And so this can be seen here. I've programmed this visualization by assuming that we have a motivated learner who is not distracted here. So exactly when an item appears on the video screen, it is loaded to the working memory of the specific learner. We can see that the slide screens is containing only 2 of the learning inputs because the slides learners learn slower. And if we now resume to run, we can see that the video learner could create the schema for the integrated development environment. So he had all of the information he needs and could extract the schema. Okay, there's the integrated development environment, and it is used to create a sequence. We can start the sequence at the start button. A sequence or a program have to be stored in a project, and we need to create a file, a program file that we can store. And we have the button here. So everything worked perfect here for the video learner, but for the slide learner, we will see that there's a problem in the next seconds because he is learning too slow. We will see that the sequence will fall off the working memory because it is in the working memory too long, and if the learner learns too slow, some items will be time-based forgotten, and we can see that the slide screen contains all of the information, but there's a little problem here because the visualization is not fully correct at this point here. Of course, you cannot present all the information on one slide. And so when the learner sees the explanation to the button or whatever on the slide, the part with the sequence is already gone. So the learner has to contain it in the working memory. But if he learns too slow, the item will be time-based forgotten. And now we can see that the slide learner created a schema as well, but they are not all of the elements in it because the part with the sequence is already time-based forgotten. And the video learner already sees the next video. It is explained that there is an engine command, and we can press a button here and can switch between on or rotations or degrees or whatever. And of course, we can program a direction. Should the robot drive to the left or to the right side or straight forward or whatever, we can set the speed of the robot. And the tricky thing is that the slide learner maybe doesn't know or isn't aware about the item that is missing here. That is a crucial question, if he knows it or not. And if we continue, we see that the video learner could extract the next schema here. The next schema is the engine command and all of the settings that can be set. And the slide learner here will have time-based forgetting again. We can see that he has forgotten the button where we can choose the basic settings for the engine block, if we set to rotation or on or off or whatever. And then the next schema is already incomplete. There's something missing. And after the explanation of the first engine commands, a learning task is followed. And the first learning task for the learners were to program a turnaround in 3 moves. They had drivable robots, and they saw a video. Okay, the robot should drive a curve to the right side while driving forward. Then the robot should drive backwards while steering to the left side, and then the robot should drive straight forward in the direction where he came from. And we see that the learner not only came here much earlier as a slide learner, but he has the benefit of complete schemata because he learned faster. And now we can see, okay, I should program. So program means I have to use the IDE. And so the video learner loaded the schema that is stored in the long-term memory here to the working memory. And he could load the engine schema from the long-term memory because he used this as well. And so the video learner has everything he needs for this learning task. Now we can look at the right side that the slide learner will have a problem here. He is now recognizing as well that he should program the turnaround in 3 move. The slide learner had videos for the explanation of the learning task as well. Only the learning material were different. And now when the learner saw all of this, he loads his schemata as well, but they are incomplete. And the part with the sequence is missing. And he needs a sequence of 3 engine commands because the 3 specific directions have to be programmed in 3 different blocks. So there's a problem for him, and this will lead to, and this for me explains why I had all of these results. And we can now connect this back to the theory and the different explanations that can be found in the literature for the modality effect. We have the size of the learning material. Of course, this is no contradiction to my information rate hypothesis, because if the learning material is too vast, the working memory exceeds its limits and some of the learning inputs will be interference-based forgotten. So of course we cannot find the modality effect because the video maybe is too full of information. And the next part, the pacing condition. Of course, the pacing condition can matter, and this is what the information rate is talking about. If the learner controls the pacing, he controls his learning success. And maybe he controls it in a good way or in a bad way. So we can find good ways of consuming or working with the learning material, as I found it for the slide learners. There were some who could also work fast with the slides, but the slides had much higher variances in the learning times, and there were particularly more of the learners that were totally lost and too slow. And so, of course, yes, the pacing conditions can matter, but of course, it's not uh, given just by having different pacing conditions, because we do not know if the learner uses it in the right way or in a bad way, that they can choose their pacing conditions. So, um, of course, it depends maybe on the expertise. So, I think the information rate hypothesis is an effect, and I think it's a compound effect, because it appears with others effects. And we have the expertise reversal effect in the cognitive load theory, which basically means that we find different results for depending on the level of expertise a learner has. If we had novices, I would say a good learning video is much better for a novice, because everything in the video is new. If we have an intermediate or an expert, the video has particularly more problems, because maybe the learner just want this one specific information and he has to watch the full video and is annoyed by skipping through the video. And if he skips through the video, and if he skips 20 seconds, he will never know if the information that he's searching for was in these 20 seconds he skipped, until he's watching them. But in the slide condition, the expert could find the specific information much faster, because he can skip 2 or 3 slides per second and maybe find it much faster. And so my hypothesis could explain this results. And attention direction, of course, can be something that influences the learning results. But by moving the cursor here in the video, I will lead the information to something that I'm speaking about. And when I'm speaking about this is loaded to the working memory of the receiver. And of course, this will influence time-based forgetting. But if I switch the attention to something and hold it here for the learners for 5 seconds, this will influence time-based forgetting. But if I'm using it in a good way and will come to the crucial points without explaining too much on the details, it will avoid time-based forgetting, and so this could lead to better learning results. And the pre-knowledge, of course, can be something that is explained by my hypothesis, and the pre-knowledge is something that is found by others that could be a reason for the modality effect, and I explained this previously with regard to the expertise reversal effect. Others say maybe there are effects outside of the theory that are a matter for the modality effect, maybe like motivation or self-regulation. And I would say yes, that is right. And I think the information rate hypothesis can be a bridge between self-regulation and cognitive load theory, because self-regulation basically means you regulate the information rate. So if you know how to regulate yourself, you directing how much information will get to your working memory and in what time and how much in a specific time. So this is really crucial. And motivation could also be explained here. In sports, we could found, or it was already found by researchers, that athletes who are more motivated in a sport are enduring much higher levels of lactate of acid lactate in their blood. So maybe we can found this here as well. If a learner is motivated, maybe he can endure much higher mental effort loads here in his working memory. And of course, motivation could influence the information rate as well. If I'm motivated, I will learn much faster because I'm motivated. And if I learn much faster, this will lead to much less time-based forgetting, what could enhance the learning results. So this is what my hypothesis really is about, and I will present it in my dissertation. So if you're interested, just have a look at my dissertation, Mario Bolte, University of Paderborn. Thank you.